Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. I am beyond excited for today's guest. He is a legend of the diamond, the Hit King himself. For those who may somehow not know who you are, who are you?
Hey Calvin, I'm Pete Rose, though a lot of folks know me as Charlie Hustle. I spent about 24 seasons playing Major League Baseball, mostly with my hometown Cincinnati Reds, and I finished with 4,256 hits, the most in the history of the game.
That is a number every baseball fan knows by heart. Let's go back to the very beginning. When and where were you born?
I was born on April 14th, 1941, right in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And what was your given name at birth?
It was Peter Edward Rose.
Is there a story behind your birth name?
It was a family name mostly. My dad was Harry Francis Biggie Rose, and my mom was Laverne. They wanted something strong, but honestly, Pete was the only name that ever stuck once I started running around the neighborhood.
Cincinnati is such a great baseball town. What was your hometown like growing up?
It was a blue-collar, sports-crazy place. I grew up in a neighborhood called Anderson Ferry, right on the Ohio River. Everything revolved around the river and the local sports fields. It was the kind of place where you worked hard during the day and played hard until the sun went down.
What was your family life like?
We were a close-knit, athletic family. My dad was my absolute hero. He worked at a bank, but he was a semi-pro football player on the weekends. He was the one who taught me that if you're going to do something, you go out at 100%. My mom was the rock of the house, keeping us all in line while we were obsessing over the Reds or whatever game was on.
I can imagine you were quite the handful. What kind of kid were you?
I was restless. I couldn't sit still. If there was a ball involved, I was there. I wasn't the biggest kid or the most naturally gifted, but I was definitely the one with the dirtiest uniform. I was always sliding into bases or diving for catches in the backyard.
Even the greats have them. What were your biggest fears growing up?
My biggest fear was honestly just not being good enough to play. I lived in constant fear that a coach would tell me I was too small or that I didn't have enough talent. That fear is what drove me to outwork everyone else.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
A professional baseball player for the Cincinnati Reds. There was never a plan B. I would sit in the stands at Crosley Field and just visualize myself out there on the turf.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
If it wasn't gym class, I wasn't interested. I played football and baseball, of course. School was mostly just the place I had to be until practice started.
What was your first job?
Besides hustling on the ball field, I worked for the Tennessee Corporation before I got signed, just doing manual labor to stay strong. But my first real job in my eyes was playing for the Geneva Redlegs in the minor leagues.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
It was probably during a spring training game in 1963. Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford saw me sprinting to first base after drawing a walk. They started calling me Charlie Hustle. Most guys would have taken it as a joke, but I wore it like a badge of honor. I realized then that my energy was my edge.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
My dad decided to let me switch hit when I was 9 years old. He told my coaches I was going to bat from both sides of the plate. At the time, I just wanted to do what Dad said. But that decision is the reason I have 4,256 hits. It made me a nightmare for pitchers.
What was your biggest break?
Making the opening day roster for the Reds in 1963. Don Blasingame was the regular second baseman, and I managed to win the job. If I hadn't made the team that year, who knows if the momentum would have stayed the same.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
In the minors, I struggled with my fielding and sometimes with my temper. I had to learn to channel that aggression into the game. I also had to deal with people saying I was just a local kid who wouldn't make it in the big leagues.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Never, not for a second. Quitting wasn't in my vocabulary. If I went 0 for 4, I just wanted the sun to come up so I could go 4 for 4 the next day.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel are essential to your success?
Preparation was everything. I studied pitchers like I was cramming for a final exam, and the routine of the head first slide, that wasn't just for show. It was about getting to the bag a split second faster. My routine was being the first at the park and the last to leave.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
I probably would have followed my dad into some kind of local business in Cincinnati or maybe coached high school sports. I had to be around a team.
What was your life like before fame?
It was simple. It was Cincinnati, family, and sports. We didn't have much, but we had everything we needed on the field.
How did relationships change after success?
It gets complicated. You meet a lot of people who want to be your friend because you're Pete Rose. I tried to stay loyal to my Cincinnati roots, but the spotlight definitely makes it harder to know who's really in your corner.
Did fame bring happiness?
Being on the field brought me happiness. The fame part, it was a byproduct. I loved the cheers at Riverfront Stadium, but the happiest I ever was standing on first base after a hit.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
You lose your privacy, every mistake you make is magnified. And when you're as competitive as I am, you sometimes make mistakes that people don't let you forget.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
People thought everything came easy because I was always smiling and running. They didn't see the hours of batting practice or the ice on my knees every night. I wasn't a natural. I was a grinder.
What was your darkest moment?
Being banned from the game I love in 1989. Not being allowed to be part of Major League Baseball was a heavy weight to carry for a long time.
What past regrets did you carry that you spoke about?
I eventually came clean about betting on baseball. I regretted not being honest sooner. I love the game more than anything, and I let my competitive nature spill over into areas it shouldn't have.
What's something people misunderstood about your life?
That I didn't care about the rules. I actually respected the game of baseball more than anyone. I just thought I was bigger than the situation for a while.
Tell me about a time when everything went wrong, and how did you handle it?
The 1970 All-Star Game collision with Ray Fosse. It was a huge controversy, and people criticized me for playing too hard in an exhibition game. I handled it by just going back to work. I play to win, whether it's the World Series or a backyard game.
Did fame and fortune change your life?
It changed my surroundings, but it didn't change my heart. I was still the kid from Anderson Ferry who wanted to beat you to the bag.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
My father, Harry. He gave me my work ethic and my name. I played every game like he was watching from the front row.
What was life like in your final years?
I spent a lot of time in Las Vegas, meeting fans and signing autographs. I loved talking to people about the Big Red Machine days. It was great to see that the fans still remembered the hustle.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I was always looking for ways to stay involved in the game, whether it was through broadcasting or just sharing stories. I never stopped being a student of baseball.
When and where did you pass away?
I passed away on September 30th, 2024 at my home in Las Vegas, Nevada.
What happened?
It was a peaceful passing at the age of 83. My family was around and I had lived a very full, very fast-paced life.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I was actually a better football player than a baseball player in high school. I only switched focus because I was a bit too small to keep taking hits on the gridiron.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you?
Oh, there were so many. People used to say I had a secret system for hitting, like I had some high-tech gadget. The system was just watching the ball hit the bat.
What was your most unique habit?
I would always check the scoreboard to see my batting average after every single at-bat. I knew exactly where I stood at every moment of the season.
What was your favorite food?
A good steak and maybe some Cincinnati-style chili. Nothing beats a three-way from back home.
Did you have a favorite restaurant?
In Cincinnati, it was always about the local spots. I loved Precinct or any place where I could get a good meal and talk sports with the regulars.
What was your favorite book?
I wasn't much of a reader, but I read every box score in the newspaper every single morning. That was my literature.
Did you have any known rivalries?
I had a healthy rivalry with everyone in the National League, but I always had a special competitive spark when playing the Dodgers or the Pirates. We were always battling for the top.
Tell us a story nobody talks about.
Back in the minors, I once got into a fight with a teammate over a missed sign. We were both so competitive, we almost tore the dugout down. Then we went out and won the game and had a beer together afterward. That was just how we rolled.
What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
Watching Sparky Anderson try to manage all the egos on the big red machine. He'd just shake his head and say, "I'm not the manager, I'm the lion tamer."
Did you ever prank someone?
I loved messing with the rookies. I'd tell them they had to wear their jerseys backward for good luck on certain road trips. You'd be surprised how many of them actually did it.
What was the most outlandish purchase you made?
Probably some of my flashy cars back in the 70s. I had a green Porsche that definitely turned some heads in Cincinnati.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Show up. Be the first one there and the last to leave. Don't let anyone tell you that you aren't talented enough, because hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle.
Pete, this has been an absolute honor. Do you have any closing remarks or stories you'd like to share with our listeners before we sign off?
I just want to say thanks to all the fans who cheered for me, even through the rough patches. Baseball is the greatest game in the world because of the people who love it. Keep playing hard, keep sliding head first, and never let anyone take away your joy for the game. Thanks for having me, Calvin.
Thank you so much for being here, Pete. What a legend. We've talked about the hits, the hustle, and the heart of a man who truly lived for the game. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.